Hey guys, Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale, kinda sorta. So I just recorded a video to release on my other two YouTube channels, Ash Raid and Ash Watchers, and after I recorded, I wasn't initially going to upload it here on the Clash Royale channel as well, but I thought to myself, you know what? I feel like the messaging here is important enough that a lot of it still, actually all of it pretty much, still does apply to Clash Royale and Supercell games and other mobile games with microtransactions. And it's all about psychological kind of marketing tricks in employees or strategies, depending on how you want to look at it, that developers and marketers all around the world use to get you to spend money that maybe you shouldn't be. So again, I feel like it's important to touch on even for Clash Royale. Even though games like CR, for example, aren't necessarily seen as predatory as maybe a gacha or a champion collector mobile game, but I still think that the messaging here is going to be important for all of my subscribers on all of my channels to go ahead and consume. So without further ado, let's go on to the video. Hey guys, Ash here, welcome to the video. So I want to release this video actually on both of my channels because I think it's incredibly important. Now, I love these games. It's not meant to be a hate piece on gacha games, champion collectors out there, and just mobile games in general, and frankly, just marketing in general, right? I have a bit of a guilty conscience because I play these games and I spend money in these games all the time, every day almost, right? Of course, I look at it as a business expense, but even if I wasn't uploading here on YouTube covering these games, Watcher of Realms and Raid Shadow Legends, I would still spend more modestly, more moderately than I do right now, but I still would spend in these games. I also own a marketing company, so I'm very interested in marketing and the psychology behind marketing. So hopefully the tips that we talk about in today's video, the psychological strategies, if you will, that these developers use to get you to spend more money when you really maybe shouldn't, or maybe the value just isn't there, even if you should spend and you should pause or wait or, you know, just take a break from spending in these games. I feel like it's super important and really a responsibility of mine to talk about these things. So I want to share some psychological tricks that these developers use to get you to spend more money when, again, you probably shouldn't. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I actually got a lightning offer as I was opening up Raid Shadow Legends to prepare for today's video, which again, I'm going to be uploading on both of my channels. So, hey, lightning offer. Well, that's a pretty obvious one, but it's a very powerful tool when it comes to marketing. I'm actually going to go on this website that I'll link if you guys want to go ahead and watch with me or read with me, excuse me. These are some psychological tactics used, right? And they can be seen as predatory, and frankly, I think some of them are, honestly, right? Or they can just be seen, as good marketing strategy, depending on what side of the fence that you land on. Either way, you need to be aware of them. So I want to actually start with the limited time, aka the lightning offers. Now, they don't have these in Watchers. They do have these in Raid. They're kind of a new addition, I want to say, right? They're a new addition to the game. So fake time constraints. There doesn't need to be a time constraint on a lightning offer, but it adds a sense of urgency, obviously. It also adds a sense of, wow, this is something that's very good because it's limited, so maybe I should spend on it. Usually not the case. Seldom, actually never, have I actually regretted not buying a lightning offer in the game. Life will go on, your account will thrive and survive without buying lightning offers, okay? The second tip I want to talk about, guys, is going to be charm pricing. You guys probably, the most familiar one, right, is we look from left to right, or we read, from left to right, at least when we're reading in English, right? And the first number that we see is going to be the lower one. So obviously, yeah, all these games are going to use that. Most companies are going to use that. Charm pricing is probably the thing that we're most familiar with, right? But did you notice that when we saw the lightning offer in-game, and the same thing for Watchers, by the way, here, if we go to the shop here, notice this, there's no decimal points, there's no dollar signs, euro signs, there's no numeration, you know, telling you what this is. This is actually a psychological trick. Removing the dollar signs can actually make you subconsciously, feel a little bit less fear or anxiety when it comes to spending money, okay? And again, these might seem like, I'm not gonna fall for that, but we all do fall for this, even if it's on a very, very, very small, subtle, subconscious way, okay? The next one is going to be bundling, right? So bundling, man, all of these games have that, right? So you can just look at this. This is kind of bundling in a way, right? It's escalating offers, and look, you can never see how much the next offer is going to cost, right? Of course, we can guess, but you never do know. Usually the first might be a decent value, and it will be the cheapest. And then the last is going to be, you're going to see the price there, and it's going to be a great value. And then usually everything in between on these offers, and I probably have one on Raid as well. Am I sure I want to close this? Of course I want to close it. They're really playing right. Oh, look, it popped up, right? Man, right on cue. Look at that. Again, I can't see the price. They're not going to be at number 2 and number 3 and number 5. They're not going to represent value. Only 1 and 6 and 4 in this case, right? These are, again, psychological tactics to get us to spend by showing us the cheap offers here. You can see those $14.99, $14.99, and the expensive ones, it just says get previous offer. To me, this is a little predatory. At least show the prices. That way we can make an educated decision. Going on, limits per customer. This is everywhere in these games. Even on bad offers, right? A purchase limit, 0 of 1. Purchase limits on basically everything in these shops, right? Now, even it almost sounds counterintuitive, right? Because shouldn't these games not institute a purchase limit of 0 out of 3, of 0 out of 3? Wouldn't they just want us to keep spending and spending and spending? No, because setting these arbitrary limitations again will make us psychologically feel more apt. For example, if I was going to buy one of these for $100, right? 100 USD. If I was going to spend one, notice how they have USD, but they don't have that dollar sign, do they, guys? If I was going to buy one or maybe two, I'd be more apt to buy 3 than I would less apt to buy 4. Does that make sense? I guess what I'm trying to say is, by having that limitation, I'm actually more likely to spend more than it would limit me from buying more if I otherwise would, right? So limitations are a really sneaky tactic that they can show, right? Let's see another one here. We have the biggest one that I want to talk about today. I might want to make sure that I have all the other ones kind of covered here, is decoy pricing or price anchoring. Price anchoring is the number one thing that you guys need to be aware of in any of these games. It's the most important thing. All of the games do it, okay, guys? And this is, again, it's really, really important here. And we can see it. Let me just go to Raid here because I'm more familiar, right? But we can see price anchoring is all over the place. And price anchoring, again, is all over the place everywhere in life. So you guys really need to be aware of this, not just in video games or in microtransactions or in these specific games, but everywhere, okay? What they're going to do is they're going to give us these deals, right? And they're going to be priced very high. Now, anybody knows, or a lot of players, I shouldn't say anybody, most players in these games and most consumers will recognize that these are not good deals. Okay, so I get a bunch of potions and a few gems for $50. How about a primal pack? I get 7 primal shards for $50. Well, we just showed, 20 primal shards for $100, right? We just showed that earlier. So we know this is a bad deal. So why do they have all these deals out there, right? To price anchor, right? It's establishing a higher or an inflated artificial value on something so they can sell you something else based on that established high value, okay? It's really important to know that, guys. It happens all the time. And it's not just on these ever-present packs in all of these games, right? It's also on deals, right? So what they're going to do strategically in these games is they're going to give you a bunch of bad deals in a bunch of quote unquote good deals, right? Now, the reason we psychologically think these deals are good is because we have been anchored at a higher price. And again, it might sound, you're likely watching this video right now thinking, nah, I'm too smart for that. And that's what everybody thinks in these games. That's what everybody thinks. But over time, when you feel that compulsion to spend, you're going to look at the human brain, right? We start to look for things. We start to subconsciously look for excuses as to why, to justify an expenditure, right? So it's really important to recognize that price anchoring happens all over the place, and it's the biggest #1 monetary strategy inside these games. So it's the biggest thing that you guys need to be aware of, okay? So how do we combat all this, okay? And this is the big takeaway from this video that I want you guys all to remember. So important, right? Try the 30-day rule. Now, all of these can be amended a little bit to fit the games that we're talking about, right? 30-day rule. See if you really want the item 30 days later and then go buy it, right? So in these games, these offers aren't going to be around for 30 days, but you can give yourself, you can see how long an offer, it lasts for. Usually it's a couple days in these games, and you can at least sleep on it, okay? At least sleep on it and see if you feel the same way after, you kind of reset, you level set everything. You ever do that with a purchase? You just wait a day or even a few hours and you're like, yeah, I didn't need that. That was crazy, right? Because you're almost like jolted out of that psychological trap that you were about to get caught in, right? Consider the personal value of an item. Now, in these games, we can even consider the value of an item on our account, right? Just sit there and ask yourself, do I need this? Is this going to really help me out a ton in this game? Or can I get it somewhere else cheaper? Maybe without even having to spend at all, just by farming, for example, in the game. Figure out a number of uses of an item. Again, that kind of goes down to the value that something's going to give you in the long term, even in these games, right? And then stick to a weekly budget. And this is the most important, right? Whether you're not spending any money in any of these games, or whether you're spending, a few dollars here or there, or if you're a bigger spender, just set a budget. I can't express how important this is, guys, because things can get out of control really quickly. You can snowball and not even realize how much you're spending in these games. You ought to realize how much you're spending, because when you're spending and not recognizing how much you're spending on a mid or long-term basis, so every day, week, or month, if you're not even going back and looking, they're winning, because that's what their goal is. Their goal is to have you spending a little bit or a lot of it every day and never really taking the time or having a mental avoidance to actually tallying up how much you're spending, because oftentimes when you see how much you're spending in these games, it can be staggering, it can be off-putting, and you will modify your behavior. So stick to a budget, and that will force you to actually track what you're spending. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Obviously, I care about you guys. Whether you spend or you don't spend, go ahead and do so. Just make it educated and be aware of these things. That way you're not caught off guard and end up spending money that you really shouldn't be spending, that you can't afford to, or if you just want to, you could spend it on other stuff, right? Other things in life matter, right? So much love, and as always, take care, guys.